Hey everybody, welcome back to Web Inspector, the semi-daily show for creative web developers. I am Timothy Miller, your host, and today it's another Tooling Tuesday with Keybase. Today we're going to tackle our first real project in Keybase. We've gone through an introduction of Keybase, and we have figured out how to set up our GPG keys, our public and private keys, on our computer using Keybase. Today we're going to take those keys and we're actually going to use them to build something cool. And the thing we are going to build is a basic password management application. Now, I know a lot of you don't like the command line, you don't like terminal, and it's kind of scary. Let me tell you before we get into this, Pass is a terminal application. It runs in your command line, but you really only have to know 2 or 3 commands to be able to use this. I'm going to walk you through some nitty-gritty details, some things that you need to set up to make this really flexible and usable for yourself. But for the most part, after the initial setup, you really only use a couple of different commands for this. So we'll walk through the setup. I'll show you those commands. I'll put those commands in the description for you to look at. And yeah, we'll go from there. Pass is the standard Unix password manager, as you can see here. It is a very useful, very flexible, very functional tool. And today we're going to make it play nice with Keybase. Now, I know there are a lot of GUIs out there that will do this for you. I personally have used 1Password for a long time, and I really liked it. But what I run up against with pretty much every password management app out there is just that most of them are designed for, say, like 10 to 50 passwords. And for 10 to 50 passwords, they work great. For 10 to 50, like your personal passwords, your social media accounts, maybe your bank accounts, maybe a few pieces of software that you own. When you have a fairly small amount of passwords, those apps work great, and just use those. But if you're like me in the IT industry and you have a couple hundred passwords that you manage, and they all have their own unique purposes, like I have a bunch of passwords for one client, I have a bunch of passwords for a company I work for, I have all of my personal passwords, there's just a ton to manage. Managing it all in one spot is difficult. This is where the Unix password manager comes in, because the Unix password manager is super flexible, and that is one of the main reasons I use it. You can really organize it any way that makes sense with your brain, and the only downside, like I alluded to before, is that it's a command line app. So let's get into it. First of all, here it is, Pass, the standard Unix manager. First of all, if you haven't seen our video about setting up your GPG key on your local machine using Keybase, then you should go back and watch that, because that is something that we will use to set this up. So the first step, like any application that you have on your computer, is you have to install it. Let's look for installs. I'm on a Mac, so I'm going to do brew install pass, and then this adds your auto completion into your command line, which is really important, really good to have. So make sure you run both of these commands. If I try it, you'll see pass is already installed. There it is. So that's the first step, install it. All right, so after successfully installing Pass, we come down to the setting it up function, and we need to create our initial password repository. This is something you'll probably only need to do once, and it's this initialization command. So we'll go, and what you need here is you need the ID for your GPG key. So if you've forgotten what it is, if it's been a while since you've done that, you can do GPG-K. You can see, and you need one of these emails that are associated with your public key. So I will go pass init and type in my email, and it tells me password store initialized for my email. And that's all you have to do to get it set up. If you type pass after that, then it should show you that there is a password store, but there's nothing in it. So let's try adding something in. We'll go pass insert test/test.org, and then we'll enter a password, and it looks like it worked. So if we do pass again, then it will show me I've got a folder called test and a password for the website test.org. So it's really as easy as that, guys, to set up your password store. Everything from here on out uses 2 commands, either insert or remove. Those are really the only commands I use. Also, just regular pass, which shows you all of the stored passwords, and you can also use just type the name of whatever it is you're looking for, and it will show you all of the information it has on it. So there's the password that I entered for test.org. After you initialize, you can type pass and the website that you want, and it will show you the password. You can type insert to insert a new website, and you can type pass rm to remove any of the passwords that are no longer necessary. So that's how you use pass, guys. It's those three commands are really all you need to know. That's all I use for just my day-to-day stuff. But there's one other thing we want to do, and it showcases a really cool feature of Keybase, and that's we can essentially make this reusable and flexible so that if you lose access to your computer, you still have all of these passwords accessible to you, and you can do that simply by adding all of these passwords to a Git repository within Keybase. So let's just do that real quick. First step is to create your own personal repository. So we'll do test pass, create my own personal repository. Now you can see I've got test pass. I've got passwords in here because that's my real password repository. But for test pass, we will just copy this link here, and then we'll come back to here and we'll do pass git remote add. And this is something you only have to do once, so you don't have to remember this command or anything. You just add this as a remote repository. Before you add a remote, you first have to create a Git repository within pass. So you do pass git init, and then we'll just do up twice to go back to our remote add Keybase as the remote. All right, so it looks like that worked. No, it actually doesn't look like it worked. Hold on. Okay, so I did that slightly wrong. So this is what I was saying about you don't necessarily have to remember that command. Git will actually help you out if you need. So what it's telling me is to use this, you do git remote add, and then it requires a name and a URL. So we'll do pass git remote add, and then we will name it origin. That's kind of the basic name for Git repositories usually, and then we'll paste that URL. Oh, not that. And it looks like it worked. So then we will take this and we'll do pass git push, and we'll see if it worked. It doesn't like that. So again, I didn't remember the first time you want to push, you have to run this command. So it's telling me I need to do that. Git push set upstream origin master. So this is saying push and set up a new branch on origin called master. Okay, so what I did here is I forgot to put the pass command in there. So quick tip for you, if you forget a prefix here, what you can do is you can do pass and double exclamation point, and it will actually pull down the last command you ran, just like that. And then we can run that. It will initialize Keybase, sync with Keybase, and just like that, all of those passwords, the one password that I created, is now in this repository. And you can see that it just got a push a few seconds ago. So from here on out, you can go ahead and insert to your heart's content, and you can do a pass git push whenever you're ready to sync your passwords to your Git repository. And if you have multiple computers, it's fairly easy to pull this repository into pass, and it will automatically use the passwords that you've already got. So you can set this up for multiple computers. It's super safe, super secure. So guys, that's a little bit about how pass works and how we can make it play nice with Keybase. Now, there are some additional features that you can use, like in Firefox I have this plugin, pass plugin, that shows you all of my passwords here, and you can use that to autofill stuff and all that. We'll set this up at another time, but this is how you get going with pass, and how you make it super safe, super secure, and super useful. One more thing I want to show you guys real quick. Pass allows you to format your passwords any way you want to. That's one of its huge strengths. But there are a lot of tools that use pass that kind of expect a standard format, and I think it's a really good format for most things. So I want to show it to you just so if you start using this, you can start using this format, and most of the things that work with password store will just work. So let me show you how to do that. It's slightly more complicated than just inserting. You have to do pass insert, and then you need this im flag. That means multiple lines. You're going to use multiple lines, and then you type in test / whatever, google.com. Now when I hit enter on this, it will say enter the contents of test / google.com. First thing you put in this is the password. So this is a password, just like that. So if you're using something like this autofill Firefox plugin, then it will automatically use the first line of this as your password. So you use the first line, then you hit enter, then you do login, and you type in your login name or login email at google.com. And then if the website uses a specific login screen, then you can provide that as a URL. So you do URL google.com/login. And then what I like to do if there are any security questions, I hate security questions personally. I think they're a terrible idea and should die a terrible death. But if something forces me to use security questions, I will add those in here too. Who is your mom? Name. Favorite color? Red. Just little things like that. And then when you're done with this, you hit enter one more time, you hit Control D, and it will save all of that stuff in there. And then to sync it with Keybase, you do pass get push. So guys, that's how you set up your own super secret, secure password repository using Keybase and the Unix password manager. I think this is a really great solution for people who have a lot of passwords to manage like I do, and I think Keybase just makes it much more accessible than it has been. So guys, thanks for joining us on this nerdy adventure so far with Keybase. I hope you enjoy what we're doing here. If you do, give us a thumbs up, it really helps. And we'll be back next week with more Tooling Tuesday and more Keybase. Guys, never stop learning. Bye!